lines have now become a very familiar topic for anyone who has followed Russia-Ukraine conflict. Some of them may never have traveled by railway in their lives, but it has become inevitable for them to have information about these lines due to the developments on the battlefield and battle line. In a conflict between Russia and Ukraine, railway lines have become one of the critical elements that could perhaps determine the fate of the war. With the continuation of the war, it is observed that Russia's efforts to protect these lines are insufficient. These lines, which have been built with years of labor and investment, now seems to bring more harm than good for Russia, and the attacks and developments on these lines deeply affect the political and military dynamics in the region. So the recent events in Russia have led to an explosion that shook the country deeply. An explosion occurred on the railway bridge in the Smolensk region, which was built during the war for an as yet undetermined reason. According to official sources, the bridge became unusable due to the severity of the explosion and the serious damage occurred in the region. Although no clear explanation has yet been made about the cause of the explosion, the reasons behind the incident have become a matter of curiosity. Let's look at the details together. As the pioneer, we continue to share our reports on Russia-Ukraine war with you, so don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss our daily reports. You can also support me and my hardworking team by using the super thanks button below the videos. Let's start if you are ready, because the pioneer reports. So one of the key dynamics of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine is the healthy functioning of transfer and supply lines. We often emphasize the difficulties faced by the Russian armed forces, especially on the front line. The Russian army is badly battered by the offensives of the Ukrainian armed forces. Attacks by the Ukrainian armed forces often targeted ammunition depots and supply lines of the Russian army. This situation causes the frontline units of the Russian armed forces to face heavy losses. In order to compensate for these losses, continuous support is required. However, the problems with the supply lines negatively affect the Russian army, and this situation stands out as a critical factor affecting the course of the war and military strategies. Since the beginning of the war, we have frequently witnessed the Ukrainian armed forces attacking targets within the Russian borders, sometimes targeting supply lines. However, usually partisan groups and Russian separatists targeted supply lines located within the territory of the Russian Federation. Recent developments also point to such incidents. According to reports, a railway bridge in the Smolensk region of Russia was recently blown up by an explosion and rendered unusable. The explosion, which occurred at night, came to the agenda with reports that the surrounding vehicles and buildings were also damaged. However, the information we have so far is super limited to the allegations. The Smolensk railway bridge was also out of service for a long time due to the effect of the explosion, and official statements on this cause and details of the explosion have not yet been made. But security and rescue teams in the region continue to work at this scene. According to the claims of some sources, the presence of the unmanned aerial vehicles was detected in the region at night. However, these claims seem to have low impact, and a significant number of local sources claim that unidentified people were around the bridge at night. This naturally draws attention to the activities of the partisan groups or the Russian separatists. This uncertainty further complicates the situation and the security situation in the region. The Smolensk railway bridge is a structure of strategic importance. This bridge is located between Moscow and Belarus. Belarus is known to be on the side of Russia, as some units of the Russian armed forces are deployed in the south of Belarus. This suggests that reinforcement from Moscow could be channeled through Belarus to the north of Ukraine. However, this strategy carries a risk of failure, and if the Russian army achieves such success, it is likely that Putin's opponents will be affected by this situation. This could be a factor that could affect the political and domestic political balance of the Putin administration. Numerous sources claim that anti-Putin partisans carried out sabotage activities against this bridge. The implications of the attack can be debated for a long time because there are many more issues that need to be addressed. One of them is the question of Russian intelligence, which has been frequently raised in recent days. Yes, Russian intelligence has failed once again. This may open up a wider debate about the weakness of Russia's intelligence capabilities. When assessing the effectiveness of an intelligence organization, it is important not only to catch those responsible for events, but also to be able to take steps to prevent them from happening in the first place. Recently, however, and indeed for a long time, the successes of the Russian intelligence seems to have been limited to capturing those responsible after the events. In reality, however, this cannot be characterized as a success because even if Russian intelligence captures those responsible, the facts don't change and Russia continues to suffer losses. This situation can be considered as an indicator of the lack of foresight and effective prevention. A Russian source recently made remarkable statements on this subject. This source, known as an extreme Russian nationalist and pro-war, suddenly attracted attention because, again, according to his claims, there were many traitors within the Russian intelligence. The statements in question are as follows. I've never seen another period in which Russian intelligence has been so weak. The enemy is entering our castles. This is all kind of damage. The phones are taped. They are everywhere. Both our internal enemies and external enemies are everywhere. But intelligence is asleep. Or are they not? Or is that what they want anyway? Anyone who claims to be a traitor in the intelligence organization disappears, and maybe that could happen to me, but I am not afraid because the traitors are causing disaster for Russia. And what is Putin doing while these traitors are working? He is watching the forces in this place. Our army is struggling, but the struggle is fruitless. Still, none of the set targets have been achieved. We can't reach any of our friends who tell us about the mistakes. Who is responsible for this? Why don't they do their job instead of arresting and detaining those who speak the truth? We don't ask them for much. Just protect Russia, but they have no such intention. They are all sold traitors. So the backlash against Russian intelligence is growing, and disorganization on the Russian side is becoming apparent as a result of the successful operations by the Ukrainian armed forces. This signals a decline in the Russian army and its combat motivations. Psychological superiority now favors Ukraine. As the support of the extreme Russian nationalist wavens, Putin's is cornered and becomes more fallible. Ukraine should watch this process carefully. What do you think? Do you think Putin is becoming isolated in the international arena? What do you think about the weakness of the Russian Federation in the field of the intelligence? And you know, we decided to keep up with all of the problems that is happening inside the recording, so you can know that I'm not a artificial intelligence. Let me know about all of your comments because you know that I read all of them, I respond to them personally, and I care about all of them. Thank you.